I just ruined a friendship with my boss who I really admire. Can I save it? I'm close friends with my boss and we're both guys. He's about 20 years older than me, but we speak very candidly and openly about other employees and unfair policies. We play cards every day at lunch. We talk about relationships and personal stuff. We even got tattoos together. They didn't match, but he told me that he'd always wanted a tattoo, and so I went with him and got one myself. I've been working with him for 3 years and gave my notice yesterday. I did get another job, and I let him know that's why I was leaving. They were offering me significantly higher pay. The boss is out all week, so unfortunately, I had to do this over the phone. I wasn't nervous, however, because on Friday, he was telling me how hard the job had become and how he wanted to quit because he had been offered another position at a different company as well. He asked me if I thought he should take it, and I told him to do what makes him happy. On the phone, he was fine. He even congratulated me. But then the texts started coming in. He basically said the timing was interesting. So Friday's gonna be your last day. He said, you've been coming in late and leaving early, which isn't true. I even found my in and out times to prove it. And your willingness to give such short notice tells me where you are. I didn't give him tons of notice, only 10 days. But I said that I'd be able to help out remotely for as long as they needed me to, and could come in whenever they needed me to, up until the start date of my new job. Edit, that's 8 working days and 2 weekend days. I suck, I know. My boss told me that they were fine and that the office didn't need me. No lunch, no send-off for my years of work, nothing. He's never been this rude, short, or cruel with me. I've never received a bad performance review or even a comment about my commuter hours. I understand I probably could have quit better, but we were friends on Friday, and I love this guy. He's someone that I could see as a lifelong mentor and friend. For him to dismiss me like that, he would need to be livid. I feel like such a jerk. I know I hurt his feelings, but it wasn't personal. It's business. How can I begin to repair this? In the comments, I assumed 10 days meant 10 working days, aka 2 weeks. OP says, oh no, it's 10 total days. 2 days are a weekend. It's short notice, a combo of the 3-day weekend and not being able to get in touch with him while he took the week off. OP replied to a deleted comment saying, it was my fault and I should have done better. I had friends coming into town and the full 2 weeks would cause me to miss most of their trip. They were only coming to see me because I told them that I get unlimited paid time off, which I did, but hadn't gotten this job offer yet. So I figured, since I'm closing out a big project in 10 days, which happened to be the day before they were in town, that it wouldn't be too big of a deal to save 4 of those days. Fine Hams Abound, who is downvoted, says, do you think maybe your friend is mad not because he's your boss and you gave short notice, but because you recently had a conversation about his career path and didn't use that opportunity to be candid with him about your own current decision? I'd be pretty pissed if I thought that I was a good friend with someone and then they blindside me with 10 days notice about a decision they absolutely had more time to contemplate. OP says, this man is my boss. Even if we were the best homies in the world, he was my boss. I couldn't tell my boss of my decision to leave until I'd secured a job offer from my new place. Fine Hams Abound replies, oh, I don't disagree, but I was just offering another possible reason for his odd reaction. I would actually argue that this is exactly why people can't truly buddy up to a boss. There is still a power imbalance. Sometimes short notice is all we can give, and you seem to have offered a temporary solution to ease the transition. While still frustrating and an inconvenience, he seems to be taking this news extremely personally. That makes me think that he really doesn't understand the boundaries of what your work friendship should have been. OP says, I'm in the office today, and he won't even look at me. Professional speak only. Leaves every room I enter. I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. I even looked up the past 2 months of my parking history to make sure that I wasn't secretly slacking off, and I never once left early the same day that I came in late. I purposely come in early or leave late, so it all always averages out. I really don't know what's going on. Congrats on the new position. 10 days is plenty of time when giving notice. You didn't do anything wrong. I would assume that your boss is a little blindsided and hurt. When he's in the office next, it would probably go a long way to talk to him face to face and let him know exactly what you said here. It's a good opportunity, and it would be silly not to take it. Tell him how you appreciate his guidance and leadership through the years and really want to maintain the friendship. He might just have hurt feelings, but his reaction isn't okay. But having a conversation about it might clear the air. OP says, just a quick update for you. My boss is actively avoiding me, so the last meeting we will have is the morning of my last day. Weird situation, weird power dynamics, and mixing friendship. Because OP seems to be aware that it was a risky thing to do even if it felt genuine. And I don't think that OP really did anything wrong in this instance. Like, yeah, 10 days notice isn't ideal, but what? Are you a moral failure for only handing in 10 days? People get fired when they give in their 2 weeks notice all the time. Do we judge those workplaces and say, oh, they're terrible people for that? OP was upfront. OP offered to help, and OP left for a better opportunity. What, is OP not allowed to grow? Because that's certainly the vibe I'm getting from this quote-unquote friend of his. What is with this emotional whiplash going on from the boss? Why is he being so snide like this? Like, burn me once, we're straight back to the strict employer-employee relationship because you didn't let me in on the fact that you were going to leave this job. I trusted you to give me that insider information, and when you did the right thing by protecting yourself and getting the absolute solid concrete proof that you did have a position lined up, suddenly I'm hurt because you did everything right. Screw you, man. What a weirdo. And now, on to the update. So I got some responses, so I figured I'd share what happened this week because it's just as crazy as the start of the story. The day after my boss chewed me out over text, he avoided me in the office, refused to speak to me, and left every room I walked into. We had a brief, work-only related conversation about taking over my project, and then he left for the day. So I waited, because he left something when he rushed out that I knew he would be back to get. Finally, I returned, and he awkwardly asks how I'm doing, and I say not great, because he's really mad at me. And then it begins. He tells me he isn't mad at me, but he feels taken advantage of. He launches into this entire story about giving me so many opportunities, how I used to be great and a great member of the office, but ever since October when we received significant evidence of employee safety concerns, which are employees that neither of us oversee, I have been checked out. He said everyone noticed I was coming in late. I refuted him that I've only ever left early, so he dropped it. He said our relationship had changed. He said my relationship with my coworkers had changed. He said that to be underperforming in this way and then to leave was a slap in his face. I want to be very clear. This is the first time he's told me any of this. No one, not my boss, not my coworkers, ever told me my commuter hours were a problem. I asked for these hours in my interview and was specifically told, we don't care when you're in the office, just that you get the work done. I told my boss that I'd completed several significant projects since October, including a company record-breaking campaign. Were they not good enough? He told me this wasn't about the work quality, it was about how painful it seemed for me to get them done. So I was honest, and I told him that I felt like a chump and that I was mortified by this news. I wasn't trying to be malicious with my hours. I just assumed that if they were an issue, someone would talk to me about it. But instead, it seems he's gone to my coworkers to complain. Finally, I asked, if I hadn't got this job, were you ever going to tell me that you'd thought I'd lost passion for the work? He said he was just waiting for the good employee button to switch back on, and he didn't want to have a hard conversation. He told me that he still loves me as a person and is happy to write me a good recommendation if I ever need one, and then we both went home. Today was still my last day, and everything was immediately back to normal. He and I were still buddy-buddy all day. At my goodbye lunch, he pulls me aside and tells me that he's quitting because he's tired of it all. He hates the company and he hates working here. He tells me he accepted a new, really awesomely paid, offer this morning, and he's going to be leaving in April. He bought me a gift, and when I left for the final time, hugged me, gave a toast, hugged me again, and then in the car he texted me thanking me for all I've done. I'm left feeling really weird. I'm not sure I learned a lesson here, or if my boss and I are still friends. I feel shitty still though, like I've been fired. Any idea on what I should do? In the comments, Dr. Leo Spaceman DDS says, honestly, it's impossible for anyone here to know if there was truth to his feelings. Your update is kinda disjointed, but it seems like he felt like you were coasting since October. I would suggest doing some thinking on your work ethics. Is there truth to what he said? I have a friend who has absolutely no ability to hide her emotions. If she is checked out and going through the motions, it's obvious even if she's producing good work. If he's wrong in projecting, that's one thing, but if there is some truth, maybe meditate on fresh approaches at your new job. Also, this might just be my old-fashioned approach, but I rarely have seen blurring lines with bosses, like becoming good friends, to have a great result. Friendly? Sure. But keeping it professional is usually way less likely to backfire on you. OP replies, I was definitely coasting when it came to the office culture. The notice of employee safety caused me to do some digging, and there were a bunch of scary, weird practices going on at the company. Dark stuff that made me feel guilty and weird about working there. Especially after I brought it to my boss, who echoed my notes of horror and disgust, but whose manager did not act. So I took a step back and just showed up and got my work done and left. No buddy-buddy stuff. No long lunches or after-hours conversations until 8 p.m. because it felt wrong, you know? That, coupled with my boss's obvious disdain for the work and open complaints about the company, had me thinking the level of hatred for the company was normal. I figured if my commuter hours and emotional detachment from the office culture was an issue, then someone would have said something. Anonymous says, he honestly sounds like a terrible boss. I don't mean he's a terrible person, just having this level of emotional entanglement with a much younger subordinate, not being able to distinguish between your work relationship and your personal friendship, wanting to avoid hard conversations, and just waiting for you to spontaneously know he wasn't satisfied with your work. He was a terrible manager. It sounds like a lot of the dysfunction and dissatisfaction with your job may have actually stemmed from the fact that your supervisor was just awful at his job, even if you like him as a person. It sounds like you've gotten really strange, unprofessional cues and behavior modeling from this job. You might want to read some of the archives at Ask a Manager or similar before starting this new job, to get a regrounding in what a healthy, typical boss relationship is like. Good luck. Why did he have to unload months of unspoken feelings on you all at once? What's that all about? Like, is he okay? This whole weird flip-flop going in feels surreal to me. Like, he's a great actor. He's got this whole concern routine going on. And then straight away is like, actually, I'm quitting. Ha! Love you. Bye. What is this good employee switch to flip back on? What is he talking about? Yeah, man, I noticed you had a bunch of problems, but I thought that you'd just solve those problems without me having to say anything about it. But when it didn't happen, you really upset me with that. What? I have whiplash just reading this. I think you just need to forget this job entirely and take that advice from the comments of readjusting what normal is for you, because anyone would have their normal meter messed up after experiences like this. And I know he offered to write a good recommendation, but I don't know if I could trust it after the constant flip-flopping of intentions here. He seems weird and not all there in the head. Thanks for the story, OP, and good luck. Our next post has trigger warnings for infidelity, obsessive behavior, harassment, physical violence, and possible invasion of privacy. Posted by user Puzzle-Headed Wish. It's titled, Am I the asshole if I tell the police/my parents that my sister has been stalking someone for years and might kill her? I genuinely feel stuck. The other Am I the asshole doesn't allow violence, which is how I found this subreddit. So I, 23 female, have a sister, 25 female, and I'm really worried about her. Her ex cheated on her 5 years ago with this woman, and ever since then, she's been obsessed in stalking her. At first, she said that it was to see if she got karma for what she did, but now it's turned actually psychotic and maybe violent, and I don't know what to do or if I should tell my parents. My sister started dating this guy when she was in high school. He came to our house a million times, and we all saw him as part of the family, especially when they stayed together after graduation. 5 years ago, he cheated on my sister, and she found out a few days after their 5th-year anniversary when they were like 20. The girl he cheated with knew he had a girlfriend, but that didn't stop her from hooking up with him. My sister was, of course, devastated, but she gave him another chance, and a few weeks later, he ended up breaking up with her, and she found out that he never stopped talking to the other girl, even though she forgave him. When she was exposing the side chick in the beginning on her Snap stories, I of course understood, and I supported her as her sister and found the girl disgusting. I thought my sister would get over it with time, and was there for her for the beginning. After 2 years, I was shocked that she hadn't moved on. She forgave her ex and even slept with him after the breakup, but she always hated the girl. The girl blocked her everywhere, but my sister still watched all of her pages and knew everything she did. If the girl posted herself at a restaurant in her story, my sister would drive to it and eat there and purposely walk by the girl's table to make her ashamed of what she did. She also knew where she lived and her work schedule and followed her around all the time and would constantly tell me how much she hates her and how she's never wanted someone to be dead so bad. I found it very concerning, and when I told my sister she needs therapy and that our parents should know how badly and how long this has been affecting her, she shut down completely and told me she was just joking and hasn't told me anything since. That was 3 years ago. My sister has dated casually, briefly, since, so I assumed that she moved on. It's been 3 years since she told me anything about her stalking and hating the girl, and I'd completely forgotten about the situation until this past weekend. My sister had a work trip last week and asked if I could feed, walk, and basically babysit her new puppy who needs a lot of attention. I said sure, since I'm doing all my classes online this semester, and stayed the week at her apartment. It's a few cities away, so I've only gone to see her a few times since she's moved here. And as a sister, I made myself welcome in her apartment and slept on her bed. I always slept on the left side, but on Saturday I was cold and wanted to sleep on the right side, which is closer to the heater. And when I laid my head down, I felt something uncomfortable, and realized there was something inside of her many pillows. Inside of it was a composite notebook labeled Anna, which is not her actual name, but the girl her ex cheated on her with. When I saw that, I was shocked. I hadn't thought of the name in years. The journal was so scary. Basically, she never got over the situation and has been waiting on karma to get the girl back for being the other woman, but it hasn't. I didn't keep up with the girl's life, but she moved away years ago, got married, and makes lifestyle content for what looks like fun since she doesn't have many followers in any of her pages. Her life seems perfect. My sister goes on and on about how much she hates this woman, but what scared me is that my sister flew out to this girl's city to stalk her in person and figure out what house she lives in. She tried to figure it out from what she posts of her house and area, which was during a time that she told us she was visiting her friend who was sick. I was so shocked that she would go that far, and it wasn't just one time. She's done it twice from what I read. Also, the notebook that I found is dated and only goes back to May of 2024, so I assume she has multiple other ones, none of which I could find. She has stated in it that the only way she will get over it is if the other woman suffers, and since karma hasn't gotten her back, my sister will. There was also a lot of other weird, threatening things in there, like how she describes wanting to watch her pass away. I was so weirded out, and when my sister got back Monday, I tried to act normal. I know I'm crazy, but a part of me thought that she left the state to kill the girl. I went to view the girl's Instagram page on a burner account I made, and she's posted since, so she is alive. That's when I realized that the fact that I could think my sister would seriously do that is insane, and that if 5 years later she still can't get over the situation, she needs a lot of help. I'm worried for her, and also the other girl. I never thought I could feel bad for her, but if only I could describe better what my sister wrote, I truly feel like she may be in danger. The issue is, I'm scared if I tell my parents who don't know anything and that my sister got over it way before I did, then there's not much they can do just based on my word alone. My sister has a job, apartment, her own life. I didn't take the notebook. I obviously don't want her to know that I know, so I have no proof. I wish I took screenshots, but I was so in shock that all I could do was read, and when I finished, I put it back and just felt dirty. I don't know what to do. Would I be the asshole if I don't speak up? Should I try to go back to get more proof and then tell my parents so that they can maybe stage an intervention? I'm so stressed. In the comments, this can't be real. If something happens, you are as guilty as your nutjob sister. You both are disgustingly vile. OP says, I'm still processing everything. This just happened on Saturday, and I got back home on Monday. I haven't been able to eat, sleep, or do anything. I feel sick. I want to tell my parents so bad, but with no proof, I feel like I'll look crazy. My sister's not dumb. She would destroy the journals. I feel so stupid. I should have taken screenshots or took it with me. I'm trying to think of an excuse to go over to her apartment, like I left something there, but I've never been there alone besides last week. Another commenter says, quit stalling and bring that notebook to the police. OP says, it's at her apartment. She doesn't live in the same city as us. I feel so dumb for not taking it or screenshots. I'm so dumb. I can't stop crying. I've never felt so bad in my whole life. I will say, OP, you're not wrong for hesitating in this instance because obviously you're going through shock and you don't really want to believe that she is capable of this much harm. But really, if she's obsessed to this degree and she has ramped up the stalking behavior, then yeah, I think she's capable of doing what she says in her ramblings in those journals. So for you, what you have to do next is escalate this situation because being silent in this situation isn't being neutral. That's a choice that comes with consequences. I do genuinely feel like you owe it to this poor girl who doesn't know that the danger is on the way or has been around her, i.e. your sister, to find a reason to get into your sister's apartment, gather as much evidence as you can, and report her to the police. That's the only responsible move you have left, so I hope you do it. And now, onto the update. Thank you to everyone who replied to this and gave me a lot of feedback on what to do. This was almost a year ago, and a lot has happened. A lot of people recommended that I tell my parents, so I did. They were so shocked, but said I must be overreacting and that maybe I misunderstood what I saw, that my sister isn't crazy, and that it was probably just an old journal I found. My mum even told me that it was rude to snoop. I immediately regretted telling them and begged them not to tell her, and they promised they wouldn't. A few weeks after that, I noticed my sister blocked me on Insta and my texts weren't going through. I found out that my mum slipped up the night before and told my sister over the phone what I told her, and my sister just told my mum that I'm crazy, that she doesn't even journal anymore, and that I was just trying to paint her out to be a bad person. My mum told us that we were being petty and to just drop it, but my sister completely cut me off and didn't speak to me for months. I just moved on with life. A few months ago, my sister was arrested. She got extremely drunk and went to her ex-boyfriend's house and tried to break in. There's ring camera footage of her confessing her love for him, saying that she will never leave him alone and that he has to open the door, and her trying to kick it down. This man is married with kids. This was crazy. I never thought something like this would happen. When my parents found out, they immediately believed me, sat me down, and asked me to tell them everything that I read again. My mum told me that she just didn't want to think that it could ever be true that my sister was still crazy and stuck on this, and that's why she told me that she didn't believe me at first. but now she does, and they both apologized. My sister got out of jail on bond, and when she did, my parents told her that if she wanted them to pay for a lawyer, they would have to see her journals. She refused, so my parents kept their word, and my sister got a public defender. This is when she reached out to me and asked me to beg my parents to pay for a lawyer since her trial is coming up. I told her that we were scared for her and that we love her, but she needs help, and that she won't let us help her. There is nothing that we can do. She ended up getting 2 years of probation for what she did. She stopped speaking to my parents as well after they didn't pay for her lawyer. We found out 2 weeks ago that she had been arrested for moving out of state while still on probation. She broke the probation rules. Where did she move to? To the same city as a woman that she was stalking. I can't even DM the other woman because her page has been on private now for a few months. When I told my parents this, they both started crying. She had a warrant out for her arrest and was recently just arrested last night. We have no idea what's going to happen now. I hope that this is the wake-up call for her and she gets the psychiatric help that she needs. In the comments, not the arsehole. Please don't wait for your sister to actually physically assault or kill this woman. Like others said, go to the police or the prosecution and tell them about the journals. If you're not willing to do that, then contact the ex and tell him and ask him to please contact this woman and give her a heads up at the very least. Your sister needs some serious downtime in a facility for everyone, including her sake. OP says, but I have no proof. When she moved away, she claims that she sold all of her stuff. I think she destroyed them. Dude, share the info about what she's written about the other woman with her probation officer. Your sister has consequences for her ex, but the other woman may be oblivious and in danger. Or is the affair partner married to the ex? OP says, no. The other woman is married to another man. For all I know, she has no current connection to my sister's ex still. And how can I contact her PO? She doesn't speak to me, and it's not like they'll just tell a stranger her info, right? It's just confusing. Another commenter says, the reality is that your sister needs a full psychiatric assessment. If she ends up in prison, it won't make a difference to her behavior. All it will do is give her time to fixate and to plan. Anyone, for whatever reason, could become the next victim of another obsession, and she could escalate further without intervention or treatment. I think your parents need some professional advice on how to ensure that she gets the help by taking the legal route to force an evaluation. If your sister ends up in the prison system and isn't fully assessed or treated, she could end up serving her time, and when she's released, she would be free to go back to her usual behavior, and the whole cycle of obsession, arrest, and prison starts again. OP says, right now, we know the county she's arrested in, and my parents are speaking to lawyers. We really want to get her help. Quote, I found out that my mum slipped up the night before and told my sister over the phone what I told her. If your child tells you they think a loved one might be dangerous, even if you don't believe them, do not inform said loved one about it. I get she didn't want to believe her older daughter could be capable of what OP told her, but she seriously risked her younger daughter's life here. Reminds me of stories about guidance counselors who tell parents that their kids say that they were abusive, with absolutely no follow-up on the abuse. OP's sister needs psychiatric intervention. I'm surprised no one's put her on an involuntary hold yet. I'm not surprised at all. Sister is fully functional in every other area of her life. If nobody asks the right questions, they never stumble on the danger. And there is absolutely no routine question that will touch on, are you still irrationally obsessed with a woman who cheated with your ex years ago? Man, this one is bad. Like, the mum telling her, oh, this is what your sister said about you. Pfft, you guys are just being petty. Come on, get over it already. But the guidance counselor one actually breaks my heart. That is so sad. I'm so sorry if anyone listening has been victim of that, where you've trusted a guidance counselor or someone in an authority position and they've just straight up told your parents that, hey, your kid said you're abusing them. Anyway, I'm gonna go now. Those people that do that need to be blacklisted from like most forms of work. That is insanely cruel. Back to the story. I'm upset at OP for going to her parents first and not just going to collect the evidence before she does anything. Unfortunately, this perspective comes from my experience with talking about a possible scenario before just collecting evidence myself, and that scenario getting ruined. So I can say hindsight is 2020. I should have taken the advice in OP's instance when I was in a similar situation. And I'm not here to say that OP is a bad person for doing so. Obviously, I did the same. I can understand where OP is coming from, but I'm sad that she took that path instead of what I wanted her to do. And I do think the next step from here is to go tell the ex-boyfriend to tell the woman who is the target of obsession that she is in danger. I'm sorry I don't have evidence because it has been destroyed, but you need to watch out for her and work out whatever you can do to get psychiatric intervention in place. I'm sorry that she went down such a dark path, OP. It's not your fault that any of this happened. She chose to be this dark person, and reality is catching up to her. I really just hope she doesn't go and murder that poor woman who is not to blame for any of this. Yes, she was the other woman in that relationship, but that does not warrant everything your sister has done. That is ridiculous. Thank you for the story. Stay safe and good luck. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.